quarter after, and we think folks who are guessing folks who are hiking across campus have made it here. Someone might slip in and someone might log in. We're really glad to have all of you online. Looks like we have about a dozen of your colleagues online, and we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 folks here in the room. Really delighted and thankful for you guys for being open to this. You probably have an idea that we know this is a challenge for you. We know it's a challenge for the entire campus. What we're talking about is a challenge for every faculty member at every university in the country. This is very widespread and a challenge. The challenge is there's new expectations of what we share with faculty, what we're going to help share with you today. This is a part of, we're also offering new support, because we know how challenging this is. And we know your intentions, and we want to help support you as best we can. There's a letter of the law. The ADA requires materials to be accessible. That's been mostly ignored, but the expectations have tightened up. But what hasn't changed is at the foundation, this is about making learning accessible to all students, regardless of any sort of condition. And also, you probably are aware of the research that accessibility features can benefit all learners. We benefit from having the little door opener that when we got a package walking in a door. That's, some simple examples. It's also true for teaching and learning. So what we also know, and you probably have an idea, the technology has been improving. It still has a way to go. We're going to be monitoring that. We will work with you within what's possible. And we're hoping that it will catch up over time, because there's going to be some challenges that are intractable, especially in some other disciplines. And we want to do a lot of listening to all of you over time. What are your distinctive challenges as you try to do this? Because you all know your materials, and we will learn what we can and look for solutions, or say, you know what, let's just work on what we can do right now and help ease your mind and help you make as much progress as we can in the time available. So thank you all. I'm going to turn it over to Pam. She's going to start us off. Pam Doherty, she's our structural designer and accessibility specialist.
And yeah, that's me. I'm a structural designer, accessibility specialist, and
Tanya Malone, campus administration, and also supporting the accessibility within campus.
And then Patrick,
Director, CTMT.
We're so happy to see you today. Thank you for coming. And as Patrick mentioned, there's about a dozen of your colleagues online on Zoom as well. So we're very excited to see you today. So just to give you kind of an overview of what we're doing here today, we have a fairly brief presentation for you and a couple of demonstrations. Some of you may be familiar with some of the tools in Canvas. And then we have a hands-on session if you want to work through some of the steps of using TidyUp to improve your course accessibility. We'll kind of go over that. And for those of you who are in Zoom, we are monitoring chat too if you have questions that come up. We will take some questions at the end of the presentation, and then we have kind of some steps for those of you who want to stay and for the hands-on part and work through some steps in your course. And we will also have lunch. So to get started, okay. So as Patrick mentioned earlier, some of you may have heard of the CSU Accessible Technology Initiative. That's been in place since 2006, so about 20 years ago. And that is sort of was designed to help us comply, to help the CSU system and Cal Poly comply with existing federal and state legislation to help sort of ensure that our students who have disabilities have equitable access to education. And that includes equitable access to our digital materials and our learning management systems, such as Canvas. And so last April, so about a year ago, the Department of Justice published a new rule that said this it has to be completed by April of 2026. And the reason that they came out with that new rule is a lot of institutions were not actually complying with the law or making efforts to make progress in that direction. I'm just gonna quickly close the door for the noise. And so Tanya and I, Tanya has been here longer than I have, but we've been working for a long time to support faculty and making their courses more accessible. But we have been tasked by administration this year to help the campus reach its accessibility goals and to support faculty in doing what you can in your campus courses. And so that's our goal. And now Tanya has some things to say.
Yeah, and so there has been some sharing of information to the deans of each college to let them know what their current accessibility scores are. Ally is a program that we're currently using that provides data about accessibility within Canvas. And so we were looking at COMS in general, and it's currently at 59%. To let you know, that's pretty average, so it's not like you are lower than others. It seems to be around other colleges too. And then we could also see that there is 131,000 PDFs just in spring quarter alone. But a lot of those files aren't being used, and that's why we'll be talking about TidyUp later. And then there's 84,000 images and courses that need alternate descriptions, and we'll be talking about that too. So spring quarter, what we saw is that COMS is 72%, and these are the actual numbers of PDFs and images for just COMS. This was actually Cal Poly as a whole. Do you want to go ahead and find the next one? So TidyUp is a program that we have purchased that works within Canvas. And the reason why we need this is that in Canvas, it's really hard to verify if a file is being used or not. Just looking at files. Whereas TidyUp will tell you, where is the file used? Is it used? And then it also gives you bulk capabilities to remove and save and so on. And Pam's going to go into that more. And then Ally, I'm sure you've seen the dials in your courses. Ally is our current tool that we're using that will let you know if the particular item is accessible and how you can fix it. Ally, though, provides most of its fixes outside of Canvas. So the Chancellor's Office did an RFP this last couple of months to verify if Ally was still the software that we should be using it. And they've chosen a different program. So we're going to be using City Labs, which is the same maker of TidyUp. That will be installed this summer. And the really nice thing about the City Labs tool is that it will allow you to save a PDF as a Canvas page. Unfortunately, PDF remediation, fixing PDFs in Acrobat Pro can be very difficult. It takes a high learning curve. We're still struggling with the program. But being a Canvas page, if you've ever created a Canvas page before, you've got the same user interface and things that Canvas has. This software is created to work in Canvas. Whereas Ally is a plugin and there's some stuff that's outside of Canvas. So it will definitely improve the ability for us to make more accessible resources easier.
And so one of the things, we're going to demo these tools for you and then before you start working with them. But one of the things we really want to call your attention to first is the Canvas Accessibility Checker. On that previous slide, when you saw the thousands, or in the case of the Canvas, the tens of thousands of images and PDFs that are inaccessible, if we just took care of those, we would make a huge improvement on our campus. And so when it comes to putting, as Tanya was mentioning, if you developed a Canvas page or an assignment or a discussion or a quiz, there are features within that that can help you make that content accessible. And it's a really easy, kind of an easy way to fix accessibility issues in your Canvas courses. So the Canvas Accessibility Checker can fix your alt text for your images, heading structures on a page, table structure, and color contrast. And I want to quickly demo this for you before we demo TidyUp. Let's see what we have on that. So this is the Canvas course, as you can see, and I'm going to click on this workshop structure and schedule page. So this was from an old workshop, but this is a Canvas page where you have an image, you have text, you have some headings, you have some hyperlinks, you have a table. And you'll notice this little red arrow at the very corner of the picture. That's kind of an ally indicator, talking about the ally score. But if I click on this edit, the edit button in Canvas, and you'll notice at the bottom of this editor window, there's this little person in a circle. That's kind of like the universal sign for accessibility. And there's a number 5. That means there's 5 issues on this page. So if I click on that little person in a circle, this panel pops out and it's going to walk me through fixing each of these very quickly. And so it will tell me that the alt text from my image needs to be changed because it's a JPEG file. So if I just take that and type in Cal Poly Campus, for my alt text, I can apply it, and now I only have 4 issues to fix. Now this is telling me my color contrast for this heading is not meeting the minimum requirements, for someone who has low vision or color blindness. So if I can scroll through here, and as soon as I find something that's accessible, this apply button will appear. If I choose something too light, you won't be able to apply the color contrast. So as soon as I find something that's accessible, I can apply it. And now I have 3 issues. Tables always need a caption, and that's because if a student who's blind, who uses a screen reader using keyboard shortcuts, they can navigate through information to find images, headings, tables, hyperlinks. And so for tables, they want to be able to know, is this an assignment table? Is this a course schedule? Is this a grading table? So I'll just type in schedule and apply. But also my table needs a header. You know, the headers that you have at the top of each of your rows or of each of your columns gives specific information. Someone using a screen reader will be able to tell whatever cell in the table they're in, what is associated with as the column header. So you always want to add a header row. Now, if you had, this is for module activities, due dates, sometimes you'll have a header row instead of a header column. But in this case, it's a header row. Sometimes you can have both. So I'll apply this. And then the heading levels can't be skipped. So as it turns out, if I scroll to the top here and select this workshop structure, you'll see that this is a heading 3. And anytime you make content in a Canvas page, you want to use heading structure. So someone using a screen reader can really quickly scroll through all the headings so they know all the different sections on a page or in a document, sort of like we would do visually. And so headings are nested like an outline. It's not an order like heading order number 1, 2, 3. It's like heading structure. If you had, say, course policies with academic integrity or attendance below that, then they're nested headings in terms of their levels. So this one starts at heading 3, but you always need to start with a heading 2 at the top of the Canvas page. And so once you, in terms of this accessibility checker, you can just say fix my heading hierarchy and apply it, and it will work through that for you. And so once you fixed all the issues, you get these little balloons and say good job, and then you can save your page. So we really want you to use
On the top, say cancel. Yeah.
You really want to use this feature when you're fixing your Canvas content first, because if you're using Ally, you might be going back to the same page all the time to fix issues. Whereas if you first use the Canvas accessibility checker for all your Canvas content, your quizzes, your discussions, your assignments, then you'll take care of a lot of the Ally issues. And it will help you add alt text to all your images, so those thousands of images will be corrected. So we wanted to show you that.
And no, and your little thing went to green on the bottom.
Oh, thank
Or
you.
red and green. So,
Thank you. So we wanted to show you that first. And now what I want to do is I want to walk you through the TidyUp tool. So this is just a quick overview of how the tool in the dashboard works. And then afterwards, we'll have you do some hands-on with it. So in all of your Canvas courses, you have this link on the left side to TidyUp. When you click that link, it's going to open up this dashboard. And I should say, when you click on the link, it will give you a message that TidyUp is scanning your course. It can take some time. It depends on the size of your course. It depends on your Wi-Fi speed. So sometimes it can, scan your course quickly. Sometimes it takes longer. After the scan has completed, it opens this dashboard, and you will have these 3 tabs. One is for files, one's for folders, one's for Canvas content. Under the Files tab, files are organized by their file name, where they're located in your Canvas course, which is very helpful. And there will be a little trash can icon next to any file that's not actually being used in your Canvas course. So if you have 7 syllabi in your course and 6 of them are older ones you're not really using, then those can be identified. You'll notice also that you can organize by file type, like you can just look at your PDF images or just PDF files or just your images or Word files or video files. You can also filter by whether they're in use or not. And then you can also choose, some people say, I'm afraid to get rid of my files, what if I need them later? You can download them all into a zip file, and you can download a CSV report that has all of the files named in alphabetical order. So if you're afraid of deleting your files, you can go ahead and download them first. So if you decide there's something important you want to have access to, have that. There will always be a warning message anytime you choose to delete an individual file or multiple files. So it will always give you that warning. And a special note are question banks. So question banks can't be scanned by TidyUp. And so you want to make sure if you've added files, especially images in your question banks, we have a recommendation. And this particular presentation is being shared with you, so you will have all of these links. Like, how do I make a classic quiz using all the question banks so that I have all of those things saved? So after the files, you have a folders view. So if you have any empty folders, you can identify those quickly and get rid of those folders. And then for Canvas content, this is really nice because you can identify, is my content published? Is it located in any modules? Does it have any content in it? And you can also organize, you can also filter by your Canvas content type. So you might go in and look at your assignments. So these are 4 old assignments I don't use anymore. And so you can quickly delete those. So we wanted to give you this example, these 3 examples, because I think this is the big message for you today. We've been running these TidyUp workshops that faculty have been attending, and they're all so happy after they run TidyUp because very quickly your ally score can go from red or orange all the way up to the green. So here's a few examples. David Asty, who's, by the way, I know you all know because he's in communications. His score before and after TidyUp went from 69% in ally to 82. His PDFs went from 84 to 31. And you can see his content went from 617 to 429. So this was simply by taking less than 30 minutes to run TidyUp. Another example is Morgan White in English. She went from 50% to 74%, 348 content items to 160. Her PDFs went from 55 to 12. Milena Ramirez Rodriguez in Food Science and Nutrition. Her PDFs went from 177 to 60. And she went from 52% to 75%. So this is only, all they did here was run TidyUp and get rid of old files in their courses. That's all they did. And so when people talk about the challenges for improving your course accessibility, this is a great first step. I like to remind people, and I'll probably say it 10 times today. After you run TidyUp, it takes Ally time to rescan your course. So it might take 30 minutes, it might take 2 hours. It kind of depends on your course size, it depends on Wi-Fi, it depends on other things. Sometimes I'm using it and it's like, wow, it updated in 20 minutes. And then other days I'm like, oh, this still hasn't updated. So I get emails all the time from faculty. I use TidyUp, my score didn't change. They say, how long was it? About 10 minutes. So give yourself some time for the rescan to take place.
Question?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for so far. I figured out that I have many multiple versions from the same document, but I was afraid to delete it because I don't know which one is in use. So my question is, if I just read the last updated date and I keep everything that is like April 16 and between March, I'm fine and I don't delete something that I need.
No, TidyUp will tell you if it's used or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
So you don't have to worry about the
If it's-
dates. or
I did I
anything.
mistake because
Yes.
Sorry, I'm
yes,
sorry,
yeah.
I shouldn't have gone too
So
fast.
it is just like I click on it
Yeah.
and it will tell me that it is
Yeah.
in use. Amazing.
So you can see here, for your files, you can sort your files by unused or files in use. So you can just sort by your unused files. Yeah,
Oh, very
when you're
good.
going
Thank you so
into,
much.
yeah, and file
And
file.
we'll have a chance to try it.
We are gonna be walking you through that today too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you can always, if you got a bunch and go, I don't know which one, and I don't wanna take the time now, you can download it. And at your leisure, it's like, okay, where was that version? And you can do it later, so you don't have to delete anything that you're not sure about.
Yeah, this is what I did so far.
All those options, yeah.
Thank you.
So after you use TidyUp, you will still have, right, a number of PDF files, which we mentioned before is one of the big culprits with inaccessible content. So Tanya's gonna kind of cover a little bit about issues with PDFs.
Yeah, so recently we've been looking at PDFs, especially in the COMS department, trying to figure out how we remediate. When we say remediate, we're saying we're gonna take the file and fix it so that all of the issues that Pam was talking about, headings, image descriptions, table structures, all that stuff is taken care of. So while we're looking at these files, some of the things that we ran into is scans. So if you scan something, this is harder for us to remediate than something that's, made in Word or something and saved as a original computer file. So we might be reaching out to you, trying to figure out where you got this and finding better versions of it. The other thing we found too is we've been finding a lot of PowerPoints that were saved as PDF. It's actually easier to fix the PDF or the PowerPoint itself than it is to try to fix the PDF that's saved, PowerPoint saved as. And so Pam has wonderful resources on how to make your PDFs accessible,
Your
or PowerPoints accessible. Sorry, I got PDFs on the brain right now. Your PowerPoint's accessible, and there's accessible templates. There's a lot of things that we'll be reaching out to you all about that as well. Some things I've also realized, like I had a particular faculty member I was working with on a textbook, an open resource textbook, so that students wouldn't have to buy it. It was on technical communications for an English 147 class. Normally, we're not the department that works with OER or Portable Learning Solutions or textbooks, but it's in Canvas. And so we're looking at this textbook that's a PDF that's not accessible. And we're trying to figure out more avenues of where those files could be, where we could get them, that they would be accessible already. So we're working with the library and the bookstore and other departments too, to try to figure out how we can help you all get those types of resources too. And there has also been, totally get it, scans of books. And then we're talking about copyright. So how do we then make sure that we're not violating copyright? But we also want to make sure our students have affordable options. So we might be trying to figure out options for that too, because there's chapters of books scanned. That we're trying to figure out what do we need to do about those too. So we'll be reaching out. Are you doing the demo next? I just want to mention the remediation piece. I can't remember what's the next.
Yeah,
slide.
go for it, yeah.
Okay, so as part of, like Pam mentioned, as part of this process, we have been tasked to hire students and start remediating PDF materials. And this is really more about those PDFs that you've received that are not yours that you've created, because it's always so much easier to fix things in the original format. If you did it in Word, it would be easier to fix the Word document and then save it back as a PDF that's accessible. So we have been pulling files out of your courses. We're trying to get our students, we've hired 7 students. We're training them how to use this program that the Chancellor's Office shared with us. It's called Equidocs. They're in there remediating files now. So after this workshop, what we really want you all to do is we'll be communicating via email. We want you all to go in and get rid of all those files that you're not using. So we're not putting in files back in your class that you're not even using. We're not spending the time fixing those files. And then we're gonna start putting the fixed PDFs into your courses so that your courses will become more and more accessible. And then the idea is we'll work on one section of that course. Then when you teach it next time, you copy that course into the quarter you're going to be teaching, and then you're starting with an accessible version. And then we'll be working with you on how do you create accessible files when you create your new documents, your new PowerPoints, whatever you're going to be working on. So we can keep those courses accessible along the way. So the COMS department is the department we're starting with first. And I was looking at
best, right?
is totally.
Yeah. I just want to say that out loud.
Yes.
No, I think it's all feel good.
Well, you all teach GE classes, and that means a lot of students and a lot of sections. And so I was looking at the GE list, and at first I'm thinking, oh, COMS 101, but then it's 102, 126, 145, 201. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So we'll be working with you guys for a while. So anyway, that's the icing. Hopefully, we will help you with remediating and fixing these files.
And this thing, the third bullet down, or PDFs from databases, we recognize that lots of faculty across all disciplines, you're getting a lot of foundational research and journal articles from these journal and research databases. 99% of those are not accessible, and it's just a systemic issue. So, you know, it's not your fault that you need this journal article in your class and you pull it in and it's not accessible. And so that's really the intent behind the remediation services. We're hoping that things like PowerPoint that you create, that you'll fix those on your end. But these PDFs that you get from these databases or from other sites, that we will fix those for you. And we want to make sure you don't message this to other departments, because you are the pilot. You're the folks who stepped in and said, you know, we'll work on this with you. So for now, until, you know, we get things up and running, you know, as Tanya was saying, you're first. And so we want to help COMS get to a really high accessibility score.
What are you looking for that accessibility score? Above 90?
If possible.
Very
Okay, it's very.
What we can say delicately is that the law says 100%. What I can't get anyone of the the Chancellor's Office to say explicitly, officially, is that we know that's not really realistic because of there's going to be some technical problems that. So what? As long as we are doing a good faith effort, taking real steps and showing progress. I'm gonna go out on a bit of a limb, because I don't really have the authority to say this, but we want to reduce the likelihood that anyone out there might say, I have a problem with this, or the attorneys who have been going around campus to campus looking for clients and suing the university, make, you know, a lot of money, but they're also prompting enforcement of a law that needed to be enforced. I'm not trying to cast disparagement, but we don't want any legal exposure for the campus, for the department, and even the bad publicity that says, oh, you guys aren't aren't really doing what you're supposed to do. No, we're making progress. So you can see, I'm sort of dancing around it. What does it mean? We're supposed to get to 100%. We're gonna help you do all we can to get as much as you can. There very well may be some that's like, there's no technological solution right now. That the image that Tanya showed of that chemistry, I don't know how chemists are gonna do that. We have no idea. We're not experts in that. We're gonna help them do what they can to get what they can, get all that progress. And same thing with some of your materials. There's gonna be some that's like, this is an image that is, how do we do that for this? We're gonna learn from you. We're gonna look for tools and other solutions. Tony and Pam are in deep connection with folks all over the CSU, including the Chancellor's office. So we are working on your behalf. So that's a little bit long, a lot of words about what we mean about 100% compliance. Let's do our best to work toward it. And then we're doing what we can do.
Yeah, and all of the campuses, there's a framework that the chancellor's office has developed, and so all of the campuses are getting funding, they're getting support, and
Is the expectation also that we would go into previous Canvas courses that we taught already to run TidyUp?
So what we're trying to do, because we're not sure what classes we will be using in the future, so what we're trying to do is work on the current quarter. So every quarter we'll be working on current quarter content, and then hopefully, again, remembering which one is accessible, then we copy that one over. So if you haven't taught a particular class this quarter, but you're teaching it next, say fall, then in fall we'll be starting to work on that.
And we're encouraging you to work for summer so that when fall comes along, you start your class, you start adding things and it's accessible, right? During fall, you come take one of Pam's workshops and you learn how to do this and you run it on those sections of those courses, TidyUp, Accessibility Checker, get that one up as high as you can. And then as you start to build this, and then those that you teach again, you start copying and that upfront effort is going to pay you dividends all your courses later on. And then when you create new things, especially with the skills, with stipends that you can learn with Pam to make sure your PowerPoints, every one you create is already accessible. So we're not keep filling the boat with water while you're trying to bail it out the other side, right? We need to stop letting the inaccessible ones keep piling those into the archive.
Maria. So there is a psychology behind this, if you don't mind. I would like to explain my previous experiences. So I like this little metric. So I realized it and I tried to fix before I came here, actually, I mean, years before. And what I don't mind the title hierarchy here. I am good at fixing the photos or other images. I am good at paying attention at PDF. I realize this, what you just have said. But when I arrived at the titles, and I realized there is no number one. So why is it not explained that there is no number one if you start with number two? So I gave up right away.
It's so frustrating.
And again, it is another thing that if we just count the numerical problems, we end up having a tremendous amount of problems, but they might be larger issues or less important issues. So I would like to hear about it. Which one is the most important that we fix, tomorrow or
Yes.
today?
Yeah,
so
excellent question.
So the most important thing is when our students, with disabilities come into your class and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have to ask for any special accommodations here because I can get to all of this stuff. So the most important things right now, and we're talking about digital materials in Canvas, is that you're looking at things you created. You're looking at PowerPoints that you created. You're looking at Word documents that you created or PDFs that were created from, those things. And those are what you want to look at. And like what Patrick was saying about bailing, it's like people make PowerPoints all the time. And most of them are not made accessibly because people haven't learned how to use the accessibility features. It's not hard. it's just a change in practice. So it's like when you're creating a Word document, you're using these features over here on the left side. If you just use the styles instead, then you're building in this electronic structure that screen readers can use, and it carries over into a PDF. But a lot of people don't know this unless you take a workshop. So I would say the most important thing is to take the accessibility workshops. There are 3 of them. They're very easy. You get $100 stipend. One is how to create an accessible Word document. One is how to create an accessible PowerPoint. One is how to create an accessible Canvas page. So those are what I would say would be the top 3 important things other than running TidyUp. Those are also available when they're not available by stipends like this quarter, because I'm steeped in Equidocs. So that's where all my time is going. So I don't have those workshops available, but I do have the standalone modules for that. So you can do the exact content that's in the workshop. It just doesn't have your colleagues in there that you're interacting with, and you don't get stipends, but it has all of the information. And we have links. You know, you're going to get this presentation. There's links to our workshops, so you can find those easily. The self-enroll module, so you can learn how to do that. The nice thing about taking the stipend workshop, when I do offer those, is that I get to review them and say, "Oops, you forgot this, or you didn't do this." So you get feedback.
I will second, I have gone to your workshop and I have benefited from it greatly. And in fact, some of the things that will show up on my Canvas page, my students will go, "Why'd you do that?" And I'll tell you, because it's accessibility. And so like everybody, like my students are being educated.
I hear that all the time, saying, "Oh, Pam's workshops, they're so good, they're so helpful."
Really, really.
And she's a real asset to this campus, and this is a skill that we haven't had to learn. Do you guys remember getting a little course or tutorial on PowerPoint? Right? Like now, it's like everyone knows PowerPoint. This is sort of in that vein. We haven't had to, but it will be a skill that we have to embed. But I also suspect the technology can improve. Why are PDFs, why does that program allow accessible, all right, we got to do some fixing at that end, but we're at the transition point where the expectation here, the technology is back here, we're sort of in here. That's why we're offering support and stipends and whatever we can do here to get as much progress as we can. But I'm guessing 5 or 6 years, there will be no more, there's gonna be a lot of technological solutions, are gonna be minimal, and AI is gonna take care of a whole bunch of things. I think some of them already do alt tags. So we're at this awkward transition point, but it's a skill that we all need now as a professional. Our materials, whether in the workplace or here, but particularly in a public institution, need to follow the law.
There's a question in Zoom.
In Zoom?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Okay, all of this makes sense. I appreciate the work that you're doing. My question is, so a lot of our university work happens outside of the classroom, but is still affiliated with the university. So I'm particularly interested in what our students are doing and what they are posting and putting online, whether it's for a student club or whether it's for a student government organization. And I have found that my students are very ill-equipped to know some of this basic accessibility stuff that I've learned in these classes. So I wonder to what degree CTLT or other campus organizations are doing to help our students start understanding accessibility and embedding their materials in ways that will be used and shared by other students. So if you could speak to that at all, I'd be really curious. I mean, this is important to me because I work with my students on posting social media content. I work with students in COMS Club who post their content to share with other students for student clubs and organizations. And I often will say, this is not accessible. We need to change this and this. And so this is what I encounter is our students and their efforts.
Yeah, we need to start this in, grade school when kids are learning how to do keyboarding and developing, everything that they're creating. It's like a systemic thing. In higher education, there are faculty who have taken my workshops who then pass it on to their students. I think that's just kind of an extra thing that they're doing. I know there's some campuses that actually have accessibility programs. And so, like at CSUN and I forget where else they have, you can get a degree and, being an accessibility specialist. There's certificate programs. So the CTLT were faculty development, so we don't have specific things for students. There's also a web for the CSU Accessible Technology Initiative. We work with instructional materials in Canvas. There's also the web accessibility folks who work with the websites, and that would include like student clubs and things if they're posting things on websites. They're monitoring all of that. They are also coming up with a similar plan, like we have here in the CTLT with instructional materials. They're coming up with a similar plan for web content at the university. So I don't know when or where that messaging will come out. But we don't work directly with students, but we really appreciate that you mentioned accessibility, and we really are hopeful that faculty will pass that on to their students when they are able to.
We don't have any issues with faculty sending students a link to the self-paced.
Role workshops are available to everyone, staff, students, faculty, anybody can enroll in those. Absolutely.
Is there any kind of accessibility checker for PowerPoints or Google Slides? Is
Yeah.
that something that exists?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's within the system. So if you go into one of those self-enroll workshops and you'll find the accessibility checker, you can find a similar one in Office 365, the online versions too, and Google Slides, and yeah, they all have similar things. Yeah.
And I have another question about that. I kind of started looking at my course, and all of my slides I upload as PDFs. Is it inherently more accessible to not upload them as PDFs?
No, it's better to be PDF. So it's one of those weird things like Word, and why do we always convert everything to PDF? It has to do with how it's displayed. So depending on your computer or your browser, your device or whatever, things can be displayed in different things if it's in Word or PowerPoint. Whereas if it's in PDF, you have this consistency with Adobe that it makes it more accessible.
Okay.
I know, I wish it wasn't necessarily.
It's when you take a workshop and enroll stipend, and have connect with other faculty. These are all things that you get to have some support and some momentum of that stuff.
But that's a great question.
Yeah, so what can you do, which we've talked about, TidyUp is definitely one of the first things you can work with because you don't want to be spending time on stuff you're not actually using anymore. Use the accessibility checker in Canvas, that's that little person on the circle on the bottom left, right hand side of the text box. Ally, which will be something different this summer, but Ally is another tool. PDFs and video, we're gonna be working on those solutions, like I said, remediation services. And we're hoping to have a streaming video system on campus here shortly that has captioning built into it. So Pam has some wonderful resources for you. Besides the fact that our support site has a step-by-step tidy up and ally information, these links are available to you when you open PowerPoint. The spring workshops for tidy up, which you offer the stipend. There's, like Pam mentioned, this open role. There's all kinds of resources on our CTLT website about accessibility, especially if you're in other disciplines like STEM, music, art. We have some resources there. And as we mentioned, MIDAS, making instructional documents accessible for students. That's our team that does the remediation service.
We still have 3 upcoming weeks of tidy up workshops. One starts next week. The others are in May. So when you get this document, you can click on those links or just go to CTLT workshops. And it's also in our newsletter. But you can sign up for those now and get that $100 stipend. And one of the things that is helpful about those workshops, you're going to be running Tidy Up in your courses, you're going to be running Ally, you're going to be using the Canvas Accessibility Checker, you're going to be interacting with your colleagues, and creating a plan for how to get to full accessibility by April. So any more questions before we're going to get started with lunch, and then we'll do some hands-on. I know we don't have a lot of extra time. It's kind of took a little longer, but any other final questions? Okay, so we kind of have these steps for you to follow and we'll be here to guide you and answer your questions, but opening one of your current Canvas courses. If you want to use a different, not your current, that's fine too, but checking your ally score, it's always helpful to write that down first because you love that comparison afterwards. Run TidyUp. Remember that you have the option of downloading files if you want to before you delete them. Remember, if you do use question banks a lot with files or images in there, to follow the steps, which I'll put the link, I'll help you find the link for that, to learn how to do that if you need to. And then after you delete files, remember that it might take some time, an hour or two, before your ally score increases. And it might increase and then you go back later and it's increased more, you know, or decreased more, increased more over time. So,
And if you don't wanna delete now, that's fine too, but if you
Yeah.
run TidyUp, you can at least see right
Yes.
now.
yes.
What's going on in your course, and we can answer any questions you have while you're here.
It's sort of an open lab if you want, or just eat and chat, whatever you want,
yes,
but they're
whatever you
here
wanna
to
do.
help do some little problem solving or play with some stuff. Yeah.
But please get food
I
first.
just have a final question. So is it safe to keep my most important documents in my Canvas classes? Because sometimes I don't create a folder because I say I will import it next time. But it happened that when I imported it, it corrupted. Is it a regular issues, or do you recommend us to always create a folder and save in folder, let's say in our computer, our most important files? Or is it okay if I import my previous classes next time?
Over time, what's the best way to
manage.
accumulate the accessible things you put time and energy in,
Yes.
and you wanna.
So you recommend me to save it because as I figured out, sometimes when I fix it and I import or export for the next class, next year, it is already corrupted.
Do you copy a Canvas course or export
Copy,
it?
yes, I copy.
So if you, so for example, we're fixing files right now, so we take the bad PDF out and put the good one in its place. And then you copy that course the next time you teach it, it's only taking the good file.
This is what I missed actually. I
It's
didn't.
supposed to work.
Yeah,
right?
I did
Yeah.
not remove the wrong files. So
Yeah.
probably this will help it
Yes.
if I clean it.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're pulling out the files, we're fixing them, and then Ally has a feature where it says, replace this with this file.
Uh-huh.
So then we're putting in the fixed file to replace it, and then it gets rid of the bad one. So
Just
just
to be-
copy.
Yeah, just to be clear, we're not pulling the document out of your course and it's empty, not there in case it's linked to something.
Mhm.
We're just replacing it once we fixed it, so it automatically relinks to whatever is in your Canvas course. It has the same file now.
Yes, thank you. Actually, what helps me a lot is I am cleaning and I don't save corrected and wrong files. I'm the same, yeah.
Please
Thank
eat, please eat. We have
That's good.
plates.
Sandwiches and salads on the side, and then drinks, cookies and chips on the side.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, yeah, the weather.